Hello everyone, welcome to my video. So how this video is going to work is I'm going to have an intro which I want everyone to watch, and then if you have one of these lighters you can skip to it. I'll have timestamps for each of these. I'm going to go through a little bit more specifically. So please everyone watch the next few minutes. You can learn a lot, just the basic technology and just the basics behind all of these, and the wick and like the cotton, how it all works, butane. Okay, so all of these lighters right here, they are actually, let's just start with butane lighters. So butane lighters, these are the most common lighters. You find them everywhere, all over the stores. They are very, very convenient. They can sit around and they won't evaporate. The fuel won't go anywhere, stuff like that. Nothing will beat the convenience of a butane lighter. I'm telling you that right now. A weakness of a butane lighter though is if it gets really cold, like 15 degrees, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that, these will have trouble lighting. Wick lighters, I'll get to it later, but they're way more reliable as far as that goes. But most people buy these because they're just way more unique. This is just a butane lighter. It's very simple. It's nothing special. But these are much more unique. They take a little bit more effort to use, a little more maintenance. It's a little bit more personal with these. And these usually are for lifetime, because you can maintenance them and you can rebuild them and you can just keep using them over and over and over again. But the main difference between the butane lighter, and these wick lighters, I'm going to be calling them, is the fuel they use. So butane fuel will not work on cotton wick lighters. So do not buy butane for these. You're just going to waste your money. They work on liquid lighter fuel. You technically could use like charcoal fluid, brake fluid, even all kinds of stuff. It'll work still, but obviously try to keep things clean and reliable. Get a name brand lighter fuel. I like to use Zippo. I think this brand actually, Ronzinol or something, they also make that. But anyways, so a butane lighter, real quick, you fill it through here. There's usually a port, and it's a pressurized gas. See that? I apologize for the quality. I'm using an action camera to record this because that's all I have right now. And the butane gas gets released and the spark lights it up. And you could adjust the flame and stuff. This one's kind of small, but anyways, you get the idea. So that's butane lighters. We are not going to be talking about butane lighters much in this video. We're talking about wick lighters. So how a wick lighter works is we have cotton to hold the fuel. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Yes. Wick, or the cotton, holds the fuel. You pour the fuel on the cotton, it soaks it, and it holds it for a few days, whatever. The wick wraps around the cotton, and the wick could wick up fuel from the cotton that's stored in the cotton into the wick, and then a spark lights it up. So I'll show you right now. But pretty much we have cotton wick, flint. Let me take one out. That's a piece of flint right there. that scraped against steel will create a hot spark and it'll light up the fuel. Now you grab all of these and now you put it into a body of a lighter with the wick sticking out. Okay, so that's any of these right here. So I will show real quick. This is my very first Zippo. I got it like 12 years ago. I was like 17 years old. But I'll show you that it still works. All you have to do is soak the cotton inside. I'm at a very bad angle, I apologize, but pretty much you pour it physically. See that stream? You don't do it too much, but you know, enough to get that cotton nice and soaked. Maybe that much. And if it's overflowing, it'll start dripping out of the wick. That's normal. Don't worry about it too much. Just don't light your hands on fire. Let it sit, dry a little bit if you overfill it. But if you fill it correctly, which you could get a feel for it eventually, you know, using it over time, you'll get a feel for it, how much it uses. Anyways, the wick will now wick it up. You know, it could take a few seconds to soak, but let's see if it works. Yep, there it is. We have a flame. Now, I hope you guys are still watching. I hope you didn't skip yet. A few tips is always keep the wick like nice and moist. You know, keep it topped off. So every couple days, you know, top it off. So it's always nice and wet, because when it's wet, you won't get, I highly doubt you'll be able to see it on camera. Let's see. But you'll get charring. Okay. Let me char this up. See, you'll get charring. It'll char up like that because there's no fuel to burn. The fuel kind of protects the wick a little bit, so if you keep it always topped off, the wick will last much longer. But eventually you will need to replace flints and wicks. Cotton lasts a lot longer, you know, almost permanently actually. Usually what ruins cotton is if you use inferior fuel, like, you know, gas or something, charcoal fluid or something like that. So cotton I wouldn't worry about too much, but I'll show you real quick how to install a wick. So let's say it comes time to replace wick. So I have this example here. I already pulled the cotton out and stuff. Pretty much the wick was in there. I pulled the cotton out. So let's say we have a new wick here. What I like to do to replace a wick, and you have to be patient. This stuff could be a little tedious, but that's part of the how these lighters work. They take effort. So there's the hole it comes out of. What I like to do is twist it a little bit to make it kind of sharp, make it a little bit more rigid, I guess. Okay, I was able to get just a little bit through. I ended up just burning the tip, and then you can grab it with tweezers and then pull. I kind of messed that up, but pretty much pull however much you need. Trim this part so it's nice and even like that. You could trim this if you want. What I like to do is put the cotton in kind of wrap it around the cotton. It depends on which one you have, but the more you wrap it around the cotton, the better. But anyways, trim that off. I actually don't have trimmers next to me, but it's all good. We'll go ahead anyway. So the more that sticks out, the bigger the flame. So as you can see, there's a bunch sticking out, so there's going to be a big flame. Pour some fluid in there. I think that's good. And obviously, typically you trim this, close it back up, but just for the sake of the video, see the fluid's starting to go through. Let it soak a little more. There you go. That's how it works. And then when you close it, it extinguishes it. Obviously trim these. I'm just trying to make this video real quick. Where to get wicks? So gas stations, stores, online. I'll see if I could find some links. I'll put them in the description. You can buy these wicks and flints, and usually Zippo. Zippo sells all this stuff. Here's actually, I found one, a Zippo wick. There's even some instructions. And there's other videos you could watch too, more instructions, more in depth. All you need is wicks, flints, there's flints in there, and fuel, and that's it. And your lighter will work continuously for a very long time, usually lifetime. There's a lot of these lighters, like if you look for Zippos and stuff, a lot of them are could be 100 years old and they're still working. So I hope that could help everybody in general kind of understand how these work. The rest of the video is just going to be me going through each of these one by one to be a little bit more specific. I'll have timestamps. With all of these lighters, it's just how they work, but eventually the fuel will evaporate out of them. If they're sitting on a shelf for a long time, it'll eventually evaporate. That's just the nature of how the fuel works. With the wick being exposed to the atmosphere, eventually it will evaporate away. You do not have that issue with butane unless it's broken. That's why nothing beats the convenience of a butane lighter, but we're talking about these and for people that want these. Except for these right here. This is more of like a bottle. There's a seal right here. And so sometimes the fuel could last forever. I actually have one of these that still lights up after sitting for over 2 years, 2.5 years, sitting just on the desk or whatever. First lighter on the list is my personal favorite one because it uses lighter fuel, liquid, and they never evaporate because they have a seal. So all of these three work the same. I'll just use this as an example because it's the biggest one for the video. They unscrew. There's the rubber seal. That's what's gonna keep the fuel from evaporating, kind of like a bottle, water bottle or something. Now with these, it's a cylinder inside this cylinder casing. So what I like to do is kind of gently pull that out. See how that's empty? And these are cool because you can throw this away and you can use this for anything else that you need watertight. Anyways, there's usually a piece of felt. Sometimes there isn't, but it doesn't really matter if you have the felt or not. There's the felt, that's gone. And before I add fuel, I'm going to show you the flint. So you're gonna need one of these little flatheads. Sometimes you can get away with like a fingernail or something, but so the flint on here is right inside here, inside the cotton. There's a little tube. With any of these lighters, be careful not to lose the spring and the spring screw Flint is okay to lose because you could just put a new one in. But yeah, don't lose any small parts, because with these more like custom lighters, see, with the Zippo, it's more forgiving because they make millions of these and you can have spare parts all the time. But with these, usually it's what you get and that's all you have. Also, another tip is you could always leave a spare flint right in the body and then put another one in there. That way you always have a flint with you. Flint goes in, the spring goes in, and the screw. This is the same process pretty much for all of these lighters. I think I'm just going to show this once and then I'll just show you where the flint goes on the other lighters. And be careful because the screw could go shooting out and you could never find it again. Okay, I got that threaded a little bit with my fingernail. And I'm going to finish it off with one of these. Okay, now this lighter refuels just like that. Pour some fuel in like that. The safest way is to do it a little bit at a time, but I think that should be enough. Oh, also a quick tip with these cylinder lighters is sometimes if you yank this too hard, this whole top will come apart. This top assembly will come apart from this cylinder. So all you need to do to prevent that is to be gentle, but also it's crimped on over here. So what you can do is kind of hammer the edge just a little bit and it makes the crimp a little bit stronger. Okay, felt back in. Again, felt is not required for this to work. Okay, so what happened there is I tightened the flint too much. So let's loosen it just a little bit. It can roll easier. And also another tip is if it's stuck, that means the flint has like an edge on it and it's just holding it down. So all you need to do is just grind it just a little bit with some leverage. Kind of to get it started. There we go. See, and now it'll spark easier. Okay, and these work exactly the same as this one. Okay, this lighter is next. So we have the cap to extinguish is just this. The wick is right there. Spark. Like this. Make sure it is clockwise. There's people that do it backwards, like that way, and the sparks, they fly away from the wick. So make sure it's clockwise. Sparks fly into the wick. And to replace the flint, it is right here. There's like a spring here, and the flint goes, you drop the flint in there. To refuel, now you could use a dime on this one because these are big. To refuel, all you need will reveal the cotton inside that you soak. Yep, there it is. See the cotton? So you fill it about this much. I'm just winging it, honestly. Put this back on. I'm going to leave that loose because I'm going to show you something else. Okay, give it a, good 10 seconds to soak or so. We have fire. Ready, but if it overflows, like starts dripping out of here, the flint will not spark. I should actually put this in the intro. If the flint is wet, it will not spark. So if it's overfilled, fuel could leak onto the flint and it won't spark. So if you're not getting spark, that's more than likely what it is. Anyways, moving on. So to help replace the wick, to replace wick on this one, what could help is take both of the screws off, and then this whole, oh, and there's a little Phillips in there. You take that out. So unscrew the little screw. Do not lose it. But honestly, it's okay if it's lost because it can still hold on here through pressure. Try not to ruin the threads, but there you go. That pops off. And now you could access cotton and wick much easier. Put that back in. Okay, and reverse to put it all back together. Moving on. Okay, we'll do this one next. So this one with the firm pressure on the side, that's how you spark it. If something is kind of loose or whatever, just tighten up these bolts. You know, stuff rotates and whatnot. Sometimes stuff could get loose. You just hold one side with your fingernail and then you tighten the other side. Okay, to refill this one, actually with this one you could replace the wick, or the flint I mean. So to replace the flint, what I mean is you could access the flint first before the cotton. There's the spring. This is just a thumb screw. Spring comes out. And there's the flint. So new flint would go in there. I'm just going to reuse that one. Spring. And that screws on. But first, to fill it, this whole bottom pops off. There you go. Fill it up. These are all empty, by the way, so we both of us on video can see roughly how much fuel it needs. Okay, close that cap. Do not lose the spring if you're refilling the fuel. There we go. Tighten that up. Give it a little bit of time to soak. And it should have flame. Again, you could adjust the wick length for flame size. Moving on, this one right here is pretty small, but it works all the same. It also is the same as, there's another one that's like half the size. It works exactly the same. So to replace the flint is thumb screw right here, spring, and the flint is in there. You just tap it out. I'm just going to leave it in there. Okay. Spark. Again, clockwise. Don't do it backwards or else it won't light. I'm going to pull a little bit of this wick out for a larger flame. Very gently. You don't want to pull the whole thing out, because that could happen. Okay, to refill it, some of these are really tight. I put on last time I refilled them. Okay, you take that off and you fill it up. Should be good. Let it soak. And see if it lights up. Let it soak some more. While it's soaking, I'm going to show you that little Allen wrench like this to take off this little screw here. See that screw? Actually allows this whole bottom to pop off. So that helps to reach the cotton and the wick. Let's put a little bit more fuel in here. Put together most of it back together, at least, for the sake of the video. Alright, so it soaked through, it reached the wick. Now we have flame. Okay, and obviously you can screw all that back in. Moving on, here's our next one. This is one of my personal favorites because it's just so smooth and easy to use. So you push that down on that quickly. That causes the spark. To replace the flint, you just follow the flint wheel, go straight down. So under this screw right here is the spring and the flint. I'm not going to take it out. But to refill the fuel is this other screw right here. You could just do it with the dime. Boom. Fuel. And I'm just doing it from the air like this, so you could roughly see how much fuel it's taking. That should be good. And these are all empty, by the way, for the video, so this is live, putting in fuel and lighting it up. So let it soak a little bit. We have flame, just like that. Keep it nice and topped off and that wick will last longer. Okay, moving on. We have this one. I also really like this one. This one's a little bit more unique. So to light this one, you go all the way down and then you release it suddenly. And that makes a spark. And then you close it when it's time to extinguish. Okay, to refill it, you just pull it out like that. There's a little slot showing the cotton to refill it, and then that screw right there is the spring and the flint. So we're going to refill it. That should be good. Let it soak. I don't know if this helps. but to make it go down faster. There it is. We got a flame. To make the flame bigger, just gently pull some wick out. Next is this one. It's kind of a hybrid between this one and a Zippo. This one has a cap. There's the wick. That's how you light it. To refuel it, you just pull it off the body. Just like that. There's the cotton. And the flint, you just follow it down. The spring and flint is in here, and it's accessible by this screw right here. Try not to lose any pieces. Fuel. Lift to fill. Pour it in there. You'll get a feel for how much fuel these need the more you use it. Look at that, it already soaked through and it's lighting up. Next, we have this one. So to access the cotton, you unscrew that. To access the cotton and be closer to the wick, for wick maintenance, you unscrew that one. See, there's the cotton. So what I'm going to do actually is fill it up here like this. This one's a little smaller, so it doesn't take as much fuel. I'm actually going to add a little bit on here too, so it reaches the wick faster. That's not necessary though. If you fill up through just this side, that's perfectly fine. Okay, to light this one, you click about right here. You apply pressure right here, and it snaps open, sparking it automatically. Now, this one is more unique and a little bit smaller, different, so be careful with this one. When it's lit up, it could heat up this cap right here, so be careful closing it. It's fine if it's real quick, but if you leave it lit for a long time, that could heat up. And also see how that flame is a little bit interesting. You could pull a little bit of wick out and trim it so it's nice and fresh, and you won't have that weird thing going on right there. And real quick, for the flint is right here. You unscrew this and there's a little spring and reaches the flint wheel. Do not lose the parts. Next is this one. So to do the flint is this screw. To refuel is this bigger one. You can do it by thumb. See the cotton in there. Fill it up. This one's a lot smaller than the other ones, but same theory. Let it soak in. Oh, I think I overfilled it. So here's a perfect example of it being overfilled. It starts dripping out of the wick, and it could get the flint wet, which prevents it from sparking. So at this point, all you do is you just have to let it sit and just dry off a little bit. And please wipe down the lighter, wipe down your hands because if this sparks, the whole thing could catch on fire, because right now this whole thing is wet. I don't know if you can see it on video. It's all wet. That could light on fire. This could light on fire. That's all fuel. So I'm gonna grab some paper towels. All right, I'm back. Gonna dry this off. Dry off your hands. I'm gonna soak this area a little bit. Well, not soak, but the opposite of soaking. Wick it up. Wipe down the area, because that's all flammable. There we go. So we have a really big flame because a lot of that wick is sticking out. Now this cap gets hot because it's right next to the wick, so just be careful when you put that out. Yeah, probably have it about half that size. Mine is just really big. Probably let it dry out some more too, because there's probably a lot of fuel being used. Moving on to, let's do these. So this one's cool. We got a bottle opener. We got a little link here. This one is kind of similar to this one. It has cylinder body that comes out, and it only goes in one way, so the wick has to face this cap, or else it'll get blocked. Also, if it comes apart, if this upper piece comes apart from this lower piece, pretty much you just crimp it down. It's all under pressure, like it's held together by pressure, so you just crimp it down. Okay, to refill it, if there's a felt in here, you take that out. There's the felt. You could honestly, you don't even need that. Fill it up. This one does not take too much. That should be more than enough. Put it back in. There's a little seal that helps with evaporation. There we go. And also, flint is replaced with that screw. There's a spring and the flint goes in there. Careful not to lose it. So this one is a little bit more interesting. So this works exactly the same as all these other ones, but instead of having cotton hold the fuel, there's actually a fuel like reservoir in here, and it's just the wick sticking in there. So to refill this one, you unscrew this. Actually, you could leave this part on. I just forgot. And let me see if I can use a dime. Yep. Use a dime. There's that. See, and there's a wick. No cotton, but the same applies. You just fill it up. See that? It's actually filling up like a level. I'm not going to do too much. Don't do it upside down. Obviously, it will pour out. There's a seal here that should hold it. Hold the fuel in anyway. Make sure that's snug. See that? This flame is a little small, but all you have to do is gently pull some more out and the flame will be bigger. This one's used also, so it's more charred. So I gotta actually trim it too. Anyways, the flint is replaced by this thumb screw right here. Unscrew it and there's a spring and the flint goes in there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll leave any kind of useful links in the description. And yeah, just be safe. I'll leave any other tips that I might have missed in the video in the description as well. I'll pin them or something. But yeah, that should cover. There's obviously, you could go a little deeper with this stuff, but that should cover about like 80%, 90% of what you need to know. So thank you for watching the video. You don't have to subscribe, but if you could like it, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.